It's game jam time. So I've probably explained what a jam is many times now, but it's just a competition where you compete against other game developers to make a game within a set time limit. And today is Juice Jam, which is a jam where you make a game about juice. So anyway, I just whipped up a new Unity project, named it something juicy, and gave Unity some time to, to create my project. Which takes fucking forever because my laptop is so garbage. And as soon as I loaded in, I had my face on there, which was weird and not juicy at all. So I deleted it and started adding the same old garbage movement code I use in almost all of my other garbage games because, I can, and apparently that's allowed. So anyway, this movement is not juicy at all, though, since the programmer is not very smart, so we have to rewrite most of it. The first thing we have to do to make it more juicy is to make the movement a bit more non-floaty. And what I mean by that is we gotta make it more responsive, since that's what most movement games do. So to start off, let's just increase the gravity by minus 39.81. The gravity of Jupiter, and it already feels a lot better. I then just added a bunch of post-processing, a skybox, and some textures, just to make sure I see something a bit more nicer than something like my face. Anyway, now what makes first-person movement games feel good to play is the pacing. A good example of this would probably be Doom Eternal, where you can just keep moving regardless of whether you bump into a wall or not. And what I mean by that is, when you keep running and when you bump into a wall, instead of completely stopping, you move in the average direction your camera is facing, depending on the So let's say you're being aimed by some stupid camper, and you're trying to run away. But if you bump into a wall, you're going to be a real-life stick man, which I actually am, by the way, and that's very bad. So instead of being a stick man, you can just move left or right depending on the direction you're facing. And this just makes it feel a lot better to play, as it won't completely stop your movement, but you will still bump into a wall nevertheless, but you won't become a stick man like me. Another feature I added was to make sure the camera dampens down a bit whenever you jump and land, just to give it a more juicy impact. Keep in mind, we need a lot of juice, and juice is what we're all about. So yeah, if this video gets 200 likes, I'll drink a whole juice carton in 1 minute on camera. I'm not even joking. Anyway, another big movement feature we need is to climb obstacles. Because say you don't want to bump into a wall, what if you want to hop over it? Say no less. All we gotta do is just do a bit of this and... What is all of this? So to make a climbing feature, we gotta use Bezier curves. And what are Bezier curves, you might ask? I have no fucking idea. I spent like thousands of hours researching this, and I still got no clue on what Bezier meant until I found this video by Freya, which taught me a lot about how Beziers in general worked. I also got a few pointers from my friend, and now we can just climb and stuff. Sick. Okay, now that we have our first person movement, we can safely move on to doing some artwork since the game looks like a piece of shit. So I went on Blender and was going to make a sick ass badass character for our game. So I imported a base mesh I use for my models, and psych, I'm just going to delete the whole mesh and keep one hand because it's my game and you guys will think that's a So I was following this reference art I got from Google, which looked kinda sick. Might do this character for fun later. Anyway, I then slapped on some textures and applied a rig to move the hands in-game. And I'm pretty sure the rig works fine because the fingers were bending the right way. Yeah, totally. Anyway, I forgot to explain how the game would be like, which is pretty important. So since the theme is called Don't Stop, and we have about a few days left, I thought I should make a game where you just play as some samurai and you go through a bunch of levels and destroy any foes in your way. Sounds super cliche and stupid, but that's all I could come up with. Which, actually, spoiler by the way, didn't even end up happening, but you'll see why till you reach to the end of the video. So I made a sick ass sword, bought it into a game, and just started doing a dance because, man, I'm feeling the vibe. I was very inspired by this game I saw called Shady Nights, which actually had pretty sick combat and mechanics, and it looked pretty amazing. So I wanted my game to have these systems, and by having them, I mean straight up copying them. Lol, look at those animations. Yep, that's mine. And here's how the result looks like after having no sleep for 2 days. and it still looks kinda ass, but we can probably improve it later on. I forgot to mention, we can also throw our sword, which is also pretty sick, and how do I actually do that? Well, I'm glad you asked. First you instantiate your weapon, then you ignore the player and calculate a direction to throw the weapon at, and also give it a bit of torque, also with some angular velocity. And just like that, we can throw our sword, which in my opinion looks kind of fun. Anyway, it's pointless to just throw a sword at nothing, so we gotta make an enemy. And to make this enemy, I just used a model which I made for my previous jam game, which was basically Mike Wazowski for some reason. Go watch that video if you haven't, by the way. Links down below. And just kinda morphed him into a knight-looking kinda enemy. Kinda looks like myself with those flabby arms and legs, so I'll name him Sticky.
What the fuck is a sticky?
Anyway, so I textured him, rigged him up, and then got him into game. And keep in mind, this is a very scary knight. The moment he's awake, he'll murder you and your... So remember how in most of my games, I make the enemy have procedural animations? Well, I did the same thing to this enemy right here, but for some reason, it just works a bit too well. Anyway, I wanted to help him out, but it seemed like he was drowning. Where are you going there, little buddy? Where'd he go? What the fuck? Then he wanted to show me some of his moves, and I might as well say he's got some juicy moves. I can just submit this to the jam and I'd probably win. So anyway, yeah, this is stupid. This won't work. I need to actually make animations for the enemy. So I made some of that in Unity, and hey, we got ourselves a walking enemy that follows us and stuff. You can even throw your sword and it should die in a true juicy ragdoll fashion. I then made the enemy do a cool ground attack, which just makes him swing his sword and slam it onto the ground, dealing damage only if you are close to it. And just throwing your sword at these knights is super satisfying. Since we have everything done, all we need now is to make levels and some map. So sadly, in around my town, we almost have power cuts every day, so finishing a jam properly is almost impossible. And we only have 2 days left now, and on top of that, I just got pretty sick myself, so I couldn't even finish the bit I had to do. So yeah, sadly around the last day when I just got a bit better and when my power was stable again, I just made a small arena where you can just fight off an infinite amount of waves. It's stupid and cliche, but damn, that's the only thing I can think of at the moment because I had about 7 hours left. Now, considering this is the juice jam, we have to keep everything a lot more juicy. So I tried my best in making sure the combat always felt juicy, even though some people might say otherwise. Combat was not juicy? What the fuck do you mean? That was what my game was about, you fucking prick. I did a lot of sound design and added these nice little text pop-ups along with some screen shake whenever you get a kill. It just seemed a lot more juicy and would probably emphasize on the kill more. Anyway, with that done, I think the game is finished. Sadly for me, the jam period actually passed, but I asked for a grace period for about 2 to 3 hours because of my power cut. The hosts were kind enough to do that for me, so yeah, that's pretty cool. I got some music from this guy called Hellsnake. Check him out, by the way, links in the description. He makes some sick music. I then built the game for PC, Mac, Linux, and even the web because I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't want to download. So yeah, they suck. And that is the story of how I made a game in a week. There's already some people that played the game and got like an absurd score on my Discord server, so if you were to play it, come join my Discord, links down below. Anyway, enough of me ranting, this was fun. I like your face, you're great, I'll be whipping out, see ya.